of the class where you welcome everyone so graciously is always so sweet. So,
All
uh,
glories to Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Good morning, dear devotees, and we'll be discussing two verses today. Actually, it was only one, but then I think yesterday's verse wasn't covered, so then I'll quickly cover that today, and then we'll move on to the one we are supposed to cover today. So we are reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2, and we are going to read verses 36 and 37 today. The purports are very big, so we'll read parts of the purports. We'll not read the entire purport for this one, for the 36th one. For the 37th one, the discussion is based on the purport itself. So we'll not read the purport, but we'll just discuss. So this is 36. कायेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रियैर्वा I just remembered. ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवती नैष्ठिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः. हरे कृष्ण. Reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 2. Maharaj Nimi meets the nine Yogendras, and text 36. Kayena vacha manasendriyairva buddhyatmana vanushrita karoti yadyat sakalam parasmai narayanayeti samarpayet tat. Translation. In accordance with the particular nature one has acquired in conditioned life, whatever one does with words, words, mind, senses, intelligence, or purified consciousness, one should offer to the Supreme, thinking, this is for the pleasure of Lord Narayan. So kaya is body, vacha is speech, manasa is mind, indriya is senses, buddhya is intelligence, atmana purified consciousness, or anushrita swabhavat is following according to one's conditioned nature. So whatever we do, dedicated to Lord Narayan. So we'll read part of the purport here, which is this one, which is really nice. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has given a nice description of how one should offer one's ordinary activities to the Supreme Lord. He says that an ordinary sense gratifier begins his activities in the morning by passing stool and urine, cleaning his mouth, brushing his teeth, bathing, meeting his friends and family members, and discussing with them the day's business. In this way, one has so many activities during the day, and a sense gratifier executes all these activities for his personal material enjoyment. A karmi, on the other hand, working under the jurisdiction of the Karmakanda section of the Vedas, will perform the same activities for the pleasure of the demigods and the forefathers. Thus, according to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, a devotee of the Supreme Lord Narayan should similarly perform all of his daily activities for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. In this way, everything we do throughout the day will become Bhaktya Anga, or a supplementary aspect of our devotional service to Krishna. So, very beautiful way of doing everything we do in the service of Krishna. This is known as technically Arup Siddha Bhakti, but we'll discuss that. It's a topic in itself. So now moving on to verse 37, which is the verse for today. Very important verse again, often quoted. भयं द्वितीयाभिनिवेशतः स्याद् ईशाद् अपेतस्य विपर्ययो स्मृतिः तन्माययातो बुध आभजेत् तं भक्त्यैकयेशं गुरुदेवतात्मा. We'll do the word for word for this. Bhayam, fear. Dvitiya, in something seeming to be other than the Lord. Abhiniveshatah, because of absorption. Syat, it will arise. Ishat, from the Supreme Lord. Apetasya, for one who has turned away. Viparyayah, misidentification. Asmritihi, forgetfulness. Tat, of the Lord. Mayaya, by the illusory energy. Ataha, therefore. Buddha, an intelligent person. Abhajet, should worship fully. Tam, him. Bhaktya, with devotion. Ekaya, unalloyed. Isham, the Lord. Guru Devata Atma, one who sees his own spiritual master as his Lord and very soul. Translation: fear arises when a living entity misidentifies himself as the material body because of absorption in the external illusory energy of the Lord. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. This bewildering, fearful condition is effected by the potency for illusion called Maya. Therefore, an intelligent person should engage unflinchingly in the unalloyed devotional service of the Lord, under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, whom he should accept as his worshipable deity and as his very life and soul. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरोः श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणा ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमा ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नामिने गौरत्विषे नमः. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद. हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम राम हरे हरे. मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घायते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीचैतन्य ईश्वरम्. Hare Krishna. Again, a good morning to all of you, and thank you for joining us today for the Bhagavatam class. And So we discussed two verses and very important verses, and the context of where we are is the pastime of the Yadus being cursed and how they destroy each other was discussed in the previous chapter, that is the first chapter of 11th canto. And now the chapter describes how Narad Muni is living with Vasudev for a few days, and then he's instructing Vasudev on various spiritual matters. And Narad Muni is actually remembering the instructions given by Maharaj Nimi to the nine Yogendras. So the nine Yogendras are sons of Lord Rishabh, no, sons of Bharat Maharaj, I think. And then he had many sons, but out of them, nine sons became great sages, and they were wandering at different places. And they happened to meet this great personality, Maharaj Nimi, and then he is instructing them in various spiritual aspects. So the 36th verse that we saw today, Kayena Vacha Manasendriyairva. So there is a lot to discuss in that verse, but just quickly, the part of the purport where we read that every activity that we do throughout the day, it may be an insignificant activity, as insignificant as maybe brushing the teeth, but then that can be, and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says how that we all do that, like a karmi sense gratifier would do that, to become clean. And then why does he want to do that? To get ready nicely. But why does he want to do that? To maybe meet with his family and friends for his own gratification and whatnot. Similarly, a karma kandi, or one who is slightly elevated, he knows that I need higher grace to achieve my materialistic goals in life. So that person does the same activities for, so that okay, then I'll be able to do my karma kandi rituals properly and please the demigods to get fruits from them. So similarly, following that same line of thought, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that even devotees of Lord Narayan can do the same thing but dedicate it to Lord Narayan. So there are two types of bhakti activities. One is called Swarupa Siddha Bhakti. Swarupa Siddha Bhakti is where the activity by its Swarupa, by its nature, is a spiritual activity, like hearing the nine processes of Bhakti, right? They are Swarup Siddha activities. And then there is Aropa Siddha activities, where certain activities are not directly devotional, but then when we think that, okay, Krishna, I'm brushing my teeth for your pleasure. So we kind of put that Aropa, that we just connect it to Krishna. It might seem mundane, but then at least we remember Krishna. I mean, not mundane, but it might seem very simplistic, right? But then still we are remembering Krishna while doing those things. Again, these are deep topics in themselves, and they require dedicated discussions. But that is where we leave that. So that was verse 36, and verse 37 is about fear. So this is a very important verse, again, often quoted. And yeah, that the world is a fearful place of existence is an experience that all of us have had, are currently having, or and are sure to have. Most of us. That is the material world. One reason, of course, for this is that the material world is known as being temporary. So it is ashashvatam, Krishna says. So it's temporary. Whatever pleasures we experience on the bodily level, they have an expiry date on them. They are short lived. And now, it's not that this is not a known fact outside of spiritual circles. Anyone, anyone in this world who is on some path of self improvement, they know that these material pleasures are short lived. That is most people agree on it, right? And then there are various ways that different thought processes, different people deal with this temporality, right? And there are many funny ways also. So was one hedonistic philosopher called Charvaka. So he composed this verse: ऋणम कृत्वा घृतम पिबेत यावा जीवेत सुखम जीवेत भस्मीभूतस्य देहस्य पुनरागमन कुतः. So he's saying that, rinam kritva घृतम pibet, as long as you're alive, just take more and more debts, take more and more loans. And what do? Drink as much ghee as you can. Apparently during his time, drinking ghee, consuming ghee was the standard of sense gratification. So that's what he's saying. You don't know when your life is going to end. So as long as you live, just by whatever means, drink as much ghee as you can. Very nice. And then the body will be burnt anyway at death, and who knows who has seen the soul, who has seen afterlife? No one has seen, right? So the temporality of the body is being accepted by Charvaka, but then the way to deal with it is very different, right? And then so yeah, the temporariness is known to many people. Whoever is on some path of self improvement, they kind of have an idea. Now the problem is, again, it doesn't end there. It's not just about temporality. So okay, things are temporary, but then if I were to accept that, and if I were to know that okay, this temporary situation is going to end on 22nd November, um, 2025, then at least if I have that predictability, ability to predict when the temporalities will end or begin, then at least I can prepare my mind. I can prepare for it. But then that's not true. That's not the design of the world. So the design is that it's not just temporary, but it's also uncertain. When you add uncertainty to the equation, that just messes us up big time. So then there is uncertainty, there is temporality, right? And now there is a nice verse again by a philosopher called Bhartrihari. He's a devotee philosopher, and during the 5th century. So he wrote a very nice verse, and we'll try to have like a little bit of a game, so to say, here. So in everything, every pleasure of the world, of the material world, there is a corresponding fear. Okay, and we'll try to guess what the corresponding fear is. First one I'll tell you, and then we can try to guess the next ones. So in enjoyment, there is fear of disease. Okay, in enjoyment there is fear of disease, because we can't keep enjoying indefinitely on a material platform, because it's just we are just limited in our ability, in our bodily ability. So that is in enjoyment there is fear of disease. In a family there is fear of,
Fighting,
sorry,
Loss, fear of loss,
conflict, fighting. I'm sorry.
fighting. Yeah, fighting. And then there was one more.
loss, fear of loss,
Loss, yes, sure. And then so this verse says in family there is fear of disgrace. So loss, fights, everything is included in kind of there in disgrace, right? In wealth there is fear of poverty, something related to, yes, theft. So it says hostile rulers. So hostile rulers tax money, and then so yeah, yeah, the fear of taxation was already there in 5th century. Anyway, in honor there is fear of disgrace.
dishonor,
Yes, dishonor, humiliation. In knowledge there is fear of ignorance, ego. Oh,
Being proved wrong.
sorry, improved. What is that?
Being proved wrong.
Being proved wrong, correct. There is fear of opponents. In knowledge, there is fear of opponents. Tarko pratishrutayo vibhinna nasa vrishir yasya matam na bhinnam. A philosopher is not known as a great philosopher. A philosopher is only known as a great philosopher until a second philosopher comes and defeats the first one. And then until a third one comes and defeats the second one. Yeah. In beauty,
Prabhu, there is also arrogance in knowledge.
yes, sure. But it's, oh yeah, you can say it's not like a fear. Like we don't fear arrogance. It's just there. Like it might develop and we won't even know about it. But yeah, that's a good one as well. Thank you, Mataji. In beauty, there is fear of old age. Thank you, old age. In power, there is fear of opponents. Yeah, so backbiters who take advantage of your weakness, and right. So in power, there is fear of backbiters. In virtue, there is fear of the tough one. Yeah, that's one. So yeah, this one's a little tough. In virtue, it says there is a fear of jealousy. Like somebody might become jealous of my virtue. In body, there is fear of body, yeah. Disease, death, yeah. This is what it says. So all the things of this world pertaining to man are attended by fear. Renunciation alone stands for fearlessness, is what this verse. This comes in a series of verses called Vairagya Shatakam, verse 31, written by Bhartrihari. So again, what renunciation is, that's a different topic, because renunciation can be understood in various levels. And Srila Rupa Goswami gave us the most mature understanding of renunciation, which is known as Yukta Vairagya, wherein we don't reject anything immaturely, but we try to utilize things in relationship to Krishna, but not for our own gratification. That is actually the highest, most mature form of renunciation. Yukta Vairagya is what Rupa Goswami says. So anyway, so if we are absorbed in the good things of this world, in the pleasures of this world, while being disconnected from Krishna, then as we saw, that good thing, that pleasure is always accompanied by the fear, is always accompanied by a difficulty, by some sort of pain. And we know that there is a accompanying thing here, and the fear of that creates fear. So fear is the unwillingness to deal with the flip side of something. So everything in this world has a flip side to it. And when we are unwilling to deal with it, or we are just worrying about it, then that is fear. So worry is a manifestation of fear again. So the word dvitiya, bhayam dvitiya biniveshatah syan, is what is what the verse says. And Prabhupada explains the word dvitiya in one of his purports in the third canto. So it is also stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 11:237, which is the word we are reading today, verse we are reading today. Dvitiya refers to matter which is beyond spirit. Matter is the secondary manifestation of spirit, for matter is produced from spirit. Just as material elements described are caused by the Supreme Lord or the Supreme Spirit, the body is also a product of the spirit soul. Therefore, the material body is called Dvitiya, or the second. One who is absorbed in this second element or second exhibition of spirit is afraid of death. So this is how Dvitiya means the second. And what does second mean here? Spirit creates matter. The Lord creates material energy, like that. So the matter is like the secondary thing that comes from spirit. And then that is what Dvitiya means. And when we are attached to matter, absorbed in matter, that is called dvitiya, that is fear, that creates fear. And then this absorption in this dvitiya, in this second element of nature, comes in various ways, right? In the purport it explains, instead the living entity becomes attached to many temporary phantasmagorical forms, such as his personal body, the bodies of his family members and friends, his nation, his city, its buildings and cars. I wonder why they wrote that, buildings and cars, and innumerable types of ephemeral material scenery. In such a state of gross ignorance, the idea of returning to one's original identity no longer even crosses the mind. In order to find a solution for this fear, it is essential to know its cause. That is my note there. I somehow put that in the quote, but anyway. So that is how this absorption in the dvitiya, in the secondary element, which is matter, it manifests in these various ways. Now, okay, there is fear, agreed, but then how do we tackle that? And that is also what the purport and the verse talks about. On one level, the cause of fear is ignorance, because we spoke about uncertainty, right? Uncertainty is ignorance about what's going to come. So now ignorance means not knowing the truth about ourselves or about anything for that matter. So if we don't know something, how do we tackle that? By knowing about it. So one way to tackle fear is to understand that ignorance is the cause, and then we try to get knowledge. And that knowledge begins with the knowledge of the spirit soul. What did Prabhupada often discuss, initially with anyone? The initial thing that Prabhupada said, we are not the body, we are the spirit soul, right? So here there is no Krishna here. It's about us, it's about our nature. And but that is an important point, and that's knowledge. And this knowledge, the jnana yogis, they take this knowledge, it can go only until the point of realizing the impersonal aspect of God, the formless aspect of Krishna. That is jnana, right? And one can go till that point, understand that the absolute truth. See, the thing is, any spiritualist, if we say that, okay, I'm not the body, I'm the soul, the next question is, if I'm the soul, then how am I entangled in the body? So when we say that I'm entangled in the body, that means there is some higher force that is prevailing, that is making all this happen. So what is that higher force? But then because the jnana yogis, because the knowledge seekers are only, they are not aware of the personal aspect of Krishna. Their knowledge only goes up till the Brahman aspect or the Brahmajyoti or the formless aspect of Krishna, right? There is no personality involved over there. And they might even realize that. But is that enough? Is what the acharyas ask. Is that enough? And they explain, Prabhupada and all our acharyas, they've explained that even if one gathers all knowledge leading up to the knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of the impersonal form of the Lord, formlessness of the Lord, it is still not enough. Because even if one realizes that, one is likely to fall back again into the realm of matter. In the purport, it says, the living entity is by nature. The living entity is by nature. What is the nature of the living entity? Pleasure seeking. Pleasure seeking. The living entity is by nature pleasure seeking, Anandamaya. Now we are suffering because we are falsely seeking pleasure on the material platform. And as a result, we are becoming entangled in the painful complexities of material existence. But if we try to give up the pleasure seeking propensity altogether, we shall eventually become frustrated and return to the platform of material pleasure seeking. So then here, now this takes us to a deeper reason for fear. And that deeper reason is what the verse is also saying, is ishad apetasya viparyayo smritihi. When the living entity thus turns away from the Supreme Lord, he also forgets his own constitutional position as a servant of the Lord. So this is actually even the root cause of ignorance itself, that we have turned away from Krishna. And this root cause, which is turning away from Krishna, this cannot be addressed with any amount of knowledge. This cannot be addressed by any amount of knowledge. The only thing that is needed there is loving surrender and devotional service. That can only be addressed. Of course, knowledge here, I'm talking about knowledge, what we discussed, the knowledge about the Atma, the knowledge about Brahman. These may be favorable, but these will not take us all the way. Only loving surrender and devotional service will take us all the way. And again, one might ask, hey, hold on, but we do seek knowledge, right, about Krishna. But that knowledge about Krishna is actually not knowledge disconnected from him. That knowledge of Krishna is actually devotional service itself. Like reading Bhagavatam. When we read or hear Bhagavatam, we actually receive a lot of knowledge, but that knowledge is of a different category. That is transcendental knowledge, that is actually devotional service. So, but the knowledge that we are talking about, which falls short, is that knowledge that we can't completely just rely on the knowledge of the soul to realize Krishna. And because Krishna realization is a totally different realm of understanding, and it requires love, it requires devotion, right? And that is the reason Sridhar Swami quotes a verse from the Gita for this verse of the Bhagavatam, the famous verse 7:14. Daiviya esha gunamai mama maya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante maya metam tarantite. This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is difficult to overcome, but those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. So, material nature, we get entangled into it, and that causes us fear. And the root cause of fear, which is Bahirmukha, this turning away from Krishna, is addressed in this verse by Krishna. And he says, only by surrendering unto me can one overcome the material nature, which is my nature, he says. And then the purport beautifully ends with the importance of the spiritual master in the journey. And again, coming back to how knowledge is not enough in to attain Krishna, that aspect comes here, because we can't get love for Krishna from any other source than from someone who already has it. So recently, gentleman was asking questions to my mentor and all of us. His point was, I don't need devotees. I don't need anyone between me and Krishna. I can approach Krishna directly, right? Krishna is in my heart. Uh, Krishna loves me, right? I'm Krishna's child, so I don't want anybody in between, right? I want to go directly to Krishna. I want to develop that love for Krishna. And then we tried to give many answers, and one of the answers that my mentor gave was it was very profound. So uh, the understanding is we can't. So love is something we need to receive from somewhere in order to give it forward. So similarly, love for Krishna, we need to receive it from somebody who already has that love for Krishna. Only then we can give it to Krishna. And that is bhakti, bhaktya sanjayatya bhaktya. So love is actually, it's not transactional. Love is reciprocal. Now, what does this mean? In true love, there is no transaction in the sense that there is no expectation of something, from the beloved. But it is reciprocal in the sense that as soon as a lover does something for the beloved, there is reciprocation from the other end. And then the path of bhakti is so beautiful that within the material realm of bhakti, that reciprocation may not be reciprocating back always, it may be reciprocating forward. So we get love and we give it forward. And that is the kindness and compassion of the spiritual master of the various Vaishnavas, that they carry that love for Krishna within their hearts. And when they give it to others, then all these souls, like Prabhupada, he came and gave it to all the souls in the West. And then we can receive that and then we can give it to Krishna. So that is how this purport ends with, and then there is a lot of discussion about various levels of realization. Lakshmi Narayan, the Rukmini Dwarkadish, and finally Govinda. We realize that we are eternal servants of Govinda. So yeah, spiritual life is so powerful that even a little progress can save one from the greatest fear. Swalpam apyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. And Acharyas explained that this mahato bhayat, this greatest fear, is the fear of falling into the lower species of life. Why? Why is that a fear? Because in the lower species of life, our consciousness is so constricted that we are unable to love and serve Krishna. Of course, there are exceptions. You might say, oh, Bharat Maharaj was in his dear body also he was remembering. Yes, there are exceptions, but these exceptions are where the person advanced to a very, very high level of spiritual life, and then for some reason, these are examples actually, and then even though he was in the body of the deer, his consciousness was not deterred. He still remembered all the mistakes that he made, and then he was an austere deer. He would just eat dried grass, leaves and whatnot, and stay near the sages and hear. So, and yeah, within the context of bhakti, two processes, there are all many of these processes, but then two processes which are hearing and chanting are extremely important. And actually, Prabhupada had once said that mm, he was in New Vrindavan, and he saw the deities there, and the deities were so beautifully decorated, dressed, and everything, and he was very pleased. And then he took darshan for some time, and then he turned to the audience and said that, I'm so, these deities are so nice, so beautiful. You have done such amazing seva. But please continue to keep hearing and chanting. Keep a healthy process of hearing and chanting going on in your life every day. Because if you don't do that, if you don't hear and chant well, then one day you will wake up and think that why did my guru leave the burden of these deities to me? So Prabhupada underscores the importance of hearing and chanting in this example. And there are, Bhagavatam verses that says simply by giving oral reception to this Vedic literature, the feeling for loving devotional service to Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, sprouts up at once to extinguish the fire of lamentation, shoka, illusion, moha, and bhaya apaha, that is fearfulness. Then living beings who are entangled in the complicated meshes of birth and death can be freed immediately by even unconsciously chanting the holy name of Krishna, which is feared by fear personified. And there are so many other verses that talk about fear and how the path of bhakti can raise us from that fear. So there is so much to discuss about fear. Fear is not always bad. Fear can be favorable also, and that is also something that Prabhupada writes, that uh, a devotee is so expert that they will they will dovetail even lust, anger, kama, krodha, and lobha. So uh, no, fear is bhaya, right? So he says lust, which is desire, devotees dovetail it to desire for Krishna. Then anger, devotees dovetail anger by becoming angry towards those who blaspheme the Lord and his devotees. And then fear, Prabhupada writes, a devotee dovetails fear by being fearful of being deviated from Krishna consciousness, and thus makes certain adjustments in the way they live so that their path to Krishna is smooth. So, yeah, that's all I had. Please forgive me if I said anything wrong. And if there are any thoughts, comments, questions, we can discuss those. Hare Krishna.
Haribo Prabhu, thank you for your class.
Hare Krishna.
I had two thoughts, two different. One is I was contemplating this yesterday. How it seems there's so much fear these days, especially because most people, we have so much now in terms of material things. Like when people lived 5,000 years ago in India in villages and living a very simple life, there wasn't so much to lose. But now people are living paycheck to paycheck, just, you know, and they have this expensive mortgage and their property taxes, and a car now, just a basic car is about $30,000. So there's so much. It's such a stretch, and then the fear of, oh, what if I was thinking, what if I leave, if I die suddenly, how will my family sustain this?
Mm,
How will they take care of? There's so much financial burden to take care of all this. It's not like the wealthy were wealthy at ease and just inheriting money for generations. And no, it's a very, and so it's, I mean, so important to be taking shelter of Krishna through this highly stressful financial uh, arrangement that's most people are in. So that's one thing I was just considering. This other subject I'd like to discuss about was it ahulia, the term sarupya, alupya, is that right? You
no,
were saying
in the beginning, the
arup
Arop Siddha, yes.
aropsidya, yes, aropsidya. So yes, doing activities that aren't just necessarily the nine processes of devotional service, but okay, we need to brush our teeth, we need to take care of the body, their family members. And what I see is most people we're saying, okay, let me do this, but so much of the time in bhakti we maybe get it wrong, where we're doing it from the outside in. We're thinking, well, let me do these things, and then it'll change my internal atmosphere.
Yeah.
But instead of inside, let me have actually a feeling, an emotion that I'm doing this with.
Mm,
So maybe you can talk about that, from like how we can come from inside out, instead of so much of this culture. And I think it's being brought into a bhakti practice much of the time for most people who aren't maybe so aware. They're doing things outside in. When I talk to devotees, what's happening for you? And they talk about what they did. I did this and I did that, but not, well, I'm feeling this way, and I'm experiencing things this way, and I'm having this realization. So it's, maybe you can share some of your realizations on how to have that inside out transition.
That's a beautiful thought, and that is a very often discussed topic, outside in or inside out. I would say both are needed. So actually, inside out is has to always be there, in the sense that whatever we do in bhakti, we do it with a very sincere desire to please Krishna. Now, that same desire to please Krishna will get honed more and more as we keep doing the externals with that sincerity. And but we need not stop the externals. That is one thing. That's the other extreme where one will say, "Oh, I'll either do it if I have the if it's coming from inside, or I won't do it at all." That is not the point here. The point is that yes, we may our internal may not be that matured, that it may not be. I may not be doing maybe I may not be cleaning the floor of the temple with utmost love. I'm just in ecstasy cleaning the floors of the temple. No, that may not be the case initially. That may not be the case for a long time. But still, that feeling is there that, okay, Krishna, let me try to do this for your pleasure rather than just doing it. So, in that sense, the externals are important. And then, by doing that with some level of sincerity, our internal motivations will get purified. And then there is this verse in the second canto, Akama sarva kamo va moksha kama udaradi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. So, akamaha, if you have no desire, sarva kama, you have all desires, moksha kama, you have desire for liberation, udaradi, I don't know what udaradi means, I don't remember now, but whatever it is, do tivrena bhakti yogena, just practice bhakti. And then in that purport, Prabhupada writes something very interesting, actually. Actually, I want to show that it's okay, it's 7:59, but basically what Prabhupada writes is, let me read it out so that I can do justice to it. So internal. No, 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 no. Okay, I don't remember that. I mean, I'm not finding it in my notes. It's somewhere. But anyway, what Prabhupada says there is Tivra, just like the. I have to read it. I'll go to the Veda base. Yeah. So yeah, this is what Prabhupada writes. As the unmixed ray, sun ray, is very forceful and is therefore called Tivra, similarly, unmixed bhakti yoga of hearing and chanting, etc., may be performed by one and all, regardless of inner motive. I'm like, hold on, Prabhupada, here you're writing that unmixed bhakti yoga, and then you're writing regardless of inner motive. What does it mean? So then the way I could reconcile this is that unmixed bhakti yoga means that sincerity is there internally, and with that sincerity I'm doing the externals, and then slowly, regardless of inner motive, my inner motive may not be very pure, but still there is some level of sincerity, and as I keep doing the externals, that inner motive will develop, and then finally I'll be able to do everything solely for the pleasure of Krishna. I don't know if that helped, Prabhu, but yeah, this is an oft discussed topic. There is a nice article on beggar and warrior. I'll probably put that in the chat if I find it. It's very relevant. Thank you. Thank you. It's darshan time.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Wonderful class as always. Very thoughtful, very deep. Thank you. Darshan time. Cameras can be turned on if possible.
Bhagavatam Samasitam Buddhatundanam Sandagato Dikhamaniya Vishesha Amam Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusha Bhajami Govinda Adi Purusha Bhajami Anganiyasya Sakanam Priya Priya Vitimati Kayanti Bhanti Kayanti Chiram Yudanki Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Raja Vigrahya Govinda Madi Purusham Govinda Adi Purusham Govinda Adi Purusham Jai Shri Radha Murli Gaurchandra Bhagavan Ki Jai Shri Bhagavan Ki Jai Chandra Radha Murli Gaur Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which we can obtain pure devotional service. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of years of suffering and attain the mercy of Krishna. By only wishes of our consciousness verified by the words of many gurus of this path. Attachment to the sweet relationship of all the lives. The open my love very glad to my heart of incidental emotions. These are my hungry words of truth. When expanding our needs, and him sincerely. Great scripture single spiritual. Our spiritual masters, devotion and mercy, the friend of the poor and Lord of us to the voice. Oh, Master, belong to us. Give us a shade to speak. May your fame is where no us. We take shelter at your lotus feet. Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai Srila Prabhupada, Jai Nitai Prabhu and Baba Bhakti Devidasi, and Jai Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Thank you very much, Temple Room. Jai Nayana Manjari, Nayana Punjari, Pujari.
Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada.
Temple Room, we're going to move on. Thank you very much. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, where are you?
I'm going down the stairs to sit at some place and Hear the
Yeah,
thoughts
the
of
back
devotees.
door. The back door. Jagannath Gopal Prabhu is entering the warehouse of bhakti through the back door. Nice. That's the process. That's Sankirtan movement.
Is Adi in the temple room?
He's in his bhajan kutir.
Is he here on class?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I like that. Did he do the? I missed it this morning, but did he do the music from his Bhajan Kutir?
Yeah.
So all we have to do is once his appearance with us is over with, we just have to just lock the basement, and that will be his Bhajan Kutir.
Problem solved. And right from the soup.
Fly in the soup. No, you're not a fly, Adipusha Prabhu. You're a beautiful dove.
Well, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder, Prabhupada says.
He's a chubby bumblebee. You ever see
Yeah.
You ever see a honeybee go from flower to flower and just you think it has no direction, but it just keeps alighting. It just keeps alighting on the pistil and the stamen and getting that pollen to bring back the honey. And it's just that's Adi.
Yeah. Adipusha Prabhu shared a beautiful verse with me on fear that is related to today's discussion. Would you like to speak on that?
We can't hear you, Adi.
Oh, I was reading last night. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Simultaneously. It says here, Prabhupada says, actually it's a verse in the Bhagavatam talking about fear. One who is engaged in devotional service has not the least fear. One who is engaged in devotional service, so whatever we do as an offering to Krishna, that is sustaining our fearlessness. And there's another verse in the Bhagavatam that talks about how anyone who has more than he needs is always in anxiety. It starts with Rajatas, that's the first word. Anyone who has more than he needs is always in anxiety due to animals and birds, persons seeking charity, friends and relatives, thieves and rogues, government taxation, the inevitable time factor, and he's even afraid of his own self, that he'll do something and lose something, because Krishna's giving us what we need. And the Hasidic Jewish people say, who is a wealthy man? Who is a wealthy man? One who is satisfied with whatever the Lord gives him. It's not a monetary number, it's an attitude. Who is a powerful man? One who can control his senses. It's always a different Shastra Shakshus, looking at things through the eyes of Scripture. Very simple. Read that verse one more time. One who is engaged in devotional service has not the least fear. That's from the fourth canto, text 51, chapter 29. Hare Krishna. One who is engaged in devotional service has not the least fear.
Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. Is Jamuna Jaya on this call? Jamuna Jaya, are you here? No? Okay. I wanted
Yeah,
to
I'm still
ask her
here.
if, oh,
I'm still here.
were you, yeah, when you were cleaning the temple room the other day, were you in fear?
No, no. The only fear I had is that I couldn't stay long enough to get the job done.
Yeah, that's right.
No fear of cleaning that temple.
Thank you. Thank you. We wanted to hear that, the practical
Terrible.
application of that verse.
The Prabhupada says there's the burden of the beast and the burden of love. Something that we're just forced to do, like an animal getting with the stick. That is burdensome, but a mother can hold the child, even though the child is, but it's a burden of love. Is willingly and gladly bearing that burden because of affection. So we might be fearful that we hope we can please Krishna nicely and be forgiven for our mistakes. That's devotional. It's not selfish fear. Could you hear that? Yep. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Thank you, Adipusha Prabhu. Narottam Nitai Prabhu, I think, has his hand raised.
Nonetheless, I wanted to ask a general question based on today's class. It was my question is like, yeah, so the solution to based on today's class was to mitigate these fears is renunciation, right, Prabhuji? And so like so obviously in Krishna consciousness, but and I think that's a definition of like being a brahmachari is like being able to be renounced, at least from a, you know, from early life perspective. So I guess my question, but also devotional life is also referred to as like a series uh of small adjustments to our life, which can be compared to like a ladder, you know, as going up the steps of a ladder. But then also like we have like Krishna consciousness is like, you know, we can, it's like taking the elevator instead of taking the stairs, instead of the comparison to the Vedas. So like how do we know like where we stand? Like what is our capacity? What is where can we, you know, obviously we want to be Krishna conscious. We don't want to be quote unquote Krishna comfortable in the sense, but not everybody's used to like sleeping on the floor, for example. But like some people, they, you know, their conditioning is that, you know, they need a bed and a sofa, all that stuff. But like time, place, and circumstance. But like at the same time, it's like how do we like progressively move closer to Krishna consciousness, but at the same time not like foregoing what we don't need, or that we're not actively using in Krishna service. For example, like you know, if there's that well, how can I say, like legally speaking, if we don't like put every, you know, things in, take care of things in a trust or something, the government might take the money, you know what I mean, for example. So just like so how do we like utilize everything for Krishna's service, but at the same time, you know, remain renounced? Because I think that's the trick here, that's the art here. Even if we have money, if we have resources, if you have, you know, things, just use those in service of Krishna, but at the same time remain renounced. But and also, you know, like Krishna, I don't know. I think I'm seeing too many not contradictions, but I'm seeing too many dualities, and it's like, you know, so like how do we progressively keep moving forward, especially, you know, me because I don't have that training in like brahmacharya living here, and you know, I'm not saying this is the fault of keep living here. I just, you know, wasn't properly trained. So yeah, back to you.
Prabhu, so what I've heard from devotees is renunciation is a spirit. It may not, it doesn't have to be external. So when bhakti acharyas, they say renounced, that does not mean we don't have things. Of course, in different contexts, it means different things, but in essence, in terms of bhakti, what renunciation means is to give up the proprietorship of things that we have. So it's not having things, but it's to give up the proprietorship that this thing is mine, and that way utilizing it in Krishna service. This is what Rupa Goswami mentions in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, Anasakyasya Vishayan Yatyarham Upayunjatah. So one is not attached to something of their own accord, but they still possess the thing and they'll utilize it in Krishna service, right? That is better than trying to give up something, um, thinking that, oh, this is not utilizable in Krishna service, you know, let me just throw it away. So that is not a healthy attitude of renunciation, is what Rupa Goswami writes in Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Now that said, that this is the tricky part here, and Vasudev Prabhu was discussing this with us in the Nectar of Devotion study group. So in Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada mentions these two renunciations. One is called as Yukta Vairagya, and then the other is called as Falgu Vairagya, or incomplete renunciation. And then Prabhupada writes in the Nectar of Devotion a very, very important point. He says that one needs the guidance of a spiritual master in order to understand what needs to be accepted and what needs to be given up. Because in the name of accepting things and utilizing them for Krishna's service, if we rely on our own mind and senses, then we might, the pendulum might swing in one extreme where we are externally saying that I'm utilizing this for Krishna service, but that may not be the internal mood, right? But I'm just covering it up by saying that, oh, yukta vairagya, like that. So it takes a lot of honesty with ourselves, and it takes a lot of honesty with our spiritual mentor, spiritual master, and they will guide us in terms of what to expect and what not to expect based on, based on them knowing us very well, based on them knowing where we are in our journey towards Krishna, and they will guide us accordingly. So definitely, one extreme is we just give things up based on our own whims. The other thing is we accept things based on our own whims and saying that in both cases we can cover it up by saying, oh, I'm renouncing this thing for Krishna and I am accepting this thing for Krishna. But in reality, we really have to question ourselves whether we do that or not. And this is something I've come to understand more and more, recently over the past few years, that, I might say that I'm doing this for Krishna, but something internally may be going on differently. So I have to be really honest as to what's happening, like even giving class, for example, giving class, and then am I giving that class to get appreciation? Yeah. So then, okay, I'll say that, oh no, I'm doing this for Prabhupada, I'm doing this for Krishna service. But really, Jagannath, are you doing that? So it takes a lot of self-introspection to understand why am I really doing something. Same goes for renunciation or accepting things, right? It's not so much external, it's more an internal disposition. And Prabhupada had written somewhere or said that, if Krishna wants me to, if I'm attached to living in a palace and Krishna wants me to live in the forest, I'll do so for Krishna's pleasure. And on the other hand, if I'm attached to living in the forest and Krishna wants me to go and live in a palace, I will do that also for Krishna's pleasure. So it's very individual like that, and we need guidance. And ultimately, it's about being very honest. And yeah, that takes time. That takes many years of. And in terms of brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, these are not necessarily spiritual I guess stages. They are because a brahmachari can be a brahmachari without being a devotee. A sannyasi can be a sannyasi without being a devotee. There are so many Mayavadi sannyasis around, right? So it's not, sannyas itself is not spiritual, or brahmacharya itself is not spiritual. Sure, these things can be favorable to our bhakti if done rightly. But then again, in and of themselves, they are not spiritual. What makes them spiritual is the bhakti aspect that gets added into them. So just some of my humble thoughts. I'll also let other senior Vaishnavas add. So.
You've explained it thoroughly. And basically, we're just trying to please Krishna. And Krishna is even pleased by your question, Prabhu. If we try to do something, we try our best, Krishna's pleased. It's a simple life.
Mathuranath Prabhu, you have your hand raised. I don't know if that's
Yeah,
from Hare Krishna.
yeah. I'm just, what I'm hearing you're describing is humility. Like the real spirit of renunciation is humility. And so when we are in this, we're feeling humble, we're seeing everything belongs to Krishna. I'm not the proprietor, he's the proprietor. And then another really nice point you're making is we can understand where I'm at, which is another aspect of humility. Humility is not trying to be something I'm not. I'm not trying to act humble. I'm not trying to look humble or act renounced and look renounced. No, I'm actually acknowledging where I'm at and then I'm going to try to, I'm gonna not try, I'm going to commit to trying to have a devotion from that place, perform devotional service from that place. So yeah, appreciate your saying it's in the spirit. This is what the third verse of Shikshashtakam, when it can, we can come to that stage of nishta where we're start being steady when these emotions of humility start arising. Or Chaitanya's saying we chant in a humble state of mind. So before that, we're, if we're not come to this place of humility and in this spirit of humility, we're not going to be steady. We're going to be knocked around in our attempts.
Yeah, absolutely, Prabhu. Thank you. You mentioned Shikshashtakam, right? Many years ago, I had a brahmachari mentor, and I went to him and asked this question. Prabhuji, we sing every morning, na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim. We say no wealth, no followers, no women, right? But then Grihasthas do accept a wife, right? So how are they living up to this verse? And he said that Grihasthas live up to this verse by accepting one wife. And that too, we don't see the wife as an object of our sense enjoyment, but as a partner in Krishna consciousness. And we try to engage together in bhakti like that, and we try to bring up Krishna conscious children to our best ability and things like that. So yeah, it's a spirit, as you mentioned. Thank you. It's a spirit of humility. Yeah. Another brahmachari friend who is a brahmachari now, but he was supposed to become a brahmachari and join temple that time. And I got the news and I went and congratulated him. Congratulations, Prabhu. You've given up so many things and now you're going to dedicate full time your life in Krishna service. Then he said the same thing that I think somebody mentioned, that actually none of this is mine to renounce in the first place. None of this is mine to renounce in the first place. The only thing I have to renounce is that this is mine, that consciousness that this is mine. So anyway, thank you. Thank you, Mathuranath Prabhu. Beautiful.
The same goes for the wife. You think you are accepting a wife, but in reality, the wife is accepting you. And that's where your purification begins, really, in your heart. So all glories to our house. Anyone would like to speak? Annabelle, Isaiah, those drawings that you were showing, can you describe them? Can you show us again? Very beautiful. Annabelle, Isaiah drawings, please.
And Saurabh had his hand up.
Oh, Saurabh.
Hare
Check
Krishna,
1, check 2
everyone.
for Saurabh. Where are you, Prabhuji?
Can you hear me? Check 1, check 2.
Yeah, we can hear you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, lots of sincere love, devotion, and respects to all of the assembled devotees. And Jagannath Gopal Prabhu, I think you're a rock star. I never know if what I'm going to share is going to add value, so always hesitant. But one of the things that I had been thinking about on your previous classes is I always say that you want to associate with the best of the best of the best in whatever you want to improve on. And so when I listen to your classes, and I think also Anupama Prabhu's classes, you guys seem relatively young, and it's an honor to be in your class and listen. You guys seem relatively young, but it's like the rock stars of tomorrow in terms of spirituality and helping others get closer to Krishna. So I wanted to share that. And I think everything that was said today was amazing. I think fear. One amazing thing that I wanted to share is I lost my father when I was 19 years old, almost 20, and it was a very difficult thing to go through, right? Um, And I was I've always been really close to Krishna for as far as I can remember, but that was tough and that tested me. Um, but basically since then you kind of live, there are two sides to it. One thing amazing is you start not taking anything for granted, and valuing everything you have, but at the same time you're kind of in fear, like life is short, etc., right? Like you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So for me it was very difficult because I was really close to my father. Like if there's that one person, it was him. So it really turned the life upside down, especially when you're 18, 19, 20, you're still figuring things out in life, right? And you're questioning. But basically, what I wanted to say is it impacted me a lot as much as, hey, I didn't know, I didn't want to get married. I became scared to be attached to anyone, even after marriage, didn't want to have kids, right? Because I don't want my child to go through the pain that I've gone through. But as I'm becoming closer and closer to Sri Krishna, and my friend and our everyone's friend who resides in all of our hearts, this amazing thing is happening where you're kind of like letting him uh, take control, because ultimately he is in control. Our ego wants us to think that we're in control. We're doing this, we're doing that, we're making time, but ultimately he's in control. So I've had this realization, and when we can kind of see everything, see Krishna in everything, be grateful for the difficulties, for the happiness, for the fears, for it's all through Krishna. And so when you kind of hand him the driver's seat, the chariot, I guess, as you can say, that fear is going away. So I kind of wanted to share those two things, and it's an amazing feeling because can you speak a little bit? Another question I had for you, I guess, is you often hear that you know, you can meet Krishna when he wants you to meet him, right? Because all of this, like, it's great. Because we can do this, we can do seva, we can do service. But Krishna is so magnificent that he sees our sincerity. So if our sincerity is doing the very little that we can, but it is truly our very best, right? And it's not we obviously have to really put in that effort. You cannot take that as an excuse that I'm doing my best. But when you're sincerely doing your absolute best, which truly can be different for every single one of us. So if Krishna knows our sincerity, he's going to lead. Can you speak a little bit to that? And everyone's time comes in terms of being closer and closer and closer to Sri Krishna. But all we can do is remember him and in full sincerity, try our very best. Because oftentimes you hear things like, oh, you meet Krishna when you're supposed to, or you go to some spiritual place on a pilgrim when you're supposed to, right? Can you speak a little bit to that? Sorry, I'm kind of rambling on, but I wanted to make sure I get your wisdom on one question.
Oh, thank you, Prabhu. That's a wonderful question, and thank you for your kind words. Yes, Anupam Prabhu is very mature and he's wonderful. I've heard his classes too, and yeah, I really appreciate that. And yeah, we both are just trying to serve you, serve the Vaishnavas in whatever way we can. And none of these qualifications are ours. I'll speak on behalf of Anupam Prabhu as well. These are given to us by our Guru, these are given to us by our spiritual master. We are all made of their mercy. That's it. There is nothing more to it. So, but we are happy that we're able to serve you. And in terms of your question, Prabhu, about Krishna seeing us, yes, Prabhupada said that he used to quote his guru saying that don't try to see God. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, don't try to see God, but serve God in such a way that he will be pleased to see you. Right? That's what we say. And then now, in my own personal experience, when it comes to seeing God, right, it may not be like immediately like Krishna is standing before me in his bluish, threefold bending form. It may not be like that. The reciprocation from Krishna may manifest in our lives in various ways. He is, of course, there in the form of deities. But then, even when we see the deities, we have different experiences based on how our consciousness is, right? We see the same Radha Murlidhar At sometime when we are really feeling very humble, we'll be like relishing Radha Murlidar's darshan. But at other times we'll be like, okay, sure, I'll offer my obeisances and carry on with my stuff. So it depends, and then based on what consciousness we have, the same experience will be different. And at the same time, Krishna manifests himself as as remembrance, or as he will orchestrate certain situations in life which will take us closer to him, which will make us question our consciousness. And then eventually, of course, the final perfection is that he will appear, we will meet Krishna face to face. But then again, we that is not the end goal that we have in mind when we practice bhakti. Bhakti on its highest level is, we don't even have the desire to go to Vaikuntha actually. We have desire for no kind of liberation. We only want to serve Krishna. And in that service, Krishna will facilitate that by maybe taking us back to Godhead or whatever. That is up to him. He's Swarat, he's supremely independent, but that's up to him. But as for us, as other devotees mentioned here, Adipurush Prabhu mentioned, we just serve to please Krishna. And then we see how Krishna will slowly, pave our way back to him. And that may be in the form of devotees, that may be in the form of increased bliss when we take darshans, that may be increased bliss when we hear about Krishna, that may be increased bliss when we associate with devotees while talking about Krishna and whatnot. In so many ways it can come, or it can come like suddenly you will do certain thing and you will realize that, oh my God, I wouldn't have even thought of doing it. If you think like that, then that is Krishna inspiring you from within to do it. So yeah, so in this way Krishna manifests. And Radhanath Maharaj had talks this in a class, that even at the end of life we say, right, ante Narayana smritihi, right, at the end of life we remember Krishna. And that was very eye-opening for me, what Maharaj said. At the end of life, remembering Krishna is not just up to you, Maharaj said. And I was like, wow, okay. So he explained that further. He said that we live our life in a way that we please Krishna. And at the end of life, because of whatever reason, even if we are unable to remember Krishna, Krishna will himself manifest as that remembrance. That was so amazing. And it's not just up to us, right? Krishna is Abhigya Swarat. He's supremely independent. He'll do whatever he likes, but he's also supremely compassionate. He's supremely independent, but he's supremely compassionate. He's supremely eager to have us back. So then he will do the needful to facilitate that. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing what you just said. I need to like write down every single one, but thank you, thank you, thank you. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you very much. Can we go to the paintings? I mean, the drawings? Karen, Isaiah, Annabelle. Okay, Jagannath, Baladev, Subhadra. Beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Beautiful, nice, so sweet.
Thank you.
Annabelle, Isaiah, please don't turn your sound off. We want to hear the Maha Mantra from you as loud as you can.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Sweet. This was our concluding micro kirtan. Thank you very much, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu. Thanks everyone. We love you. We need you. Chant fearlessly, like Prabhupada, serve fearlessly, and Krishna will make up for the inconveniences we may have to go through sometimes if we put Krishna first. Right, Jagannath Gopal Prabhu? Did I get it right?
Yeah, absolutely, bro.
Thank you. And yes, Anupam is very mature, like you said. Just wanted to point that out. Hare Krishna.